because this is episode 76 of SETI BIMCO, and this is episode 26 of SETI BIMCO Part 2, The Revenge. And this
we
month,
are more than halfway there in getting past the original premise of SETI BIMCO.
Episode 100, not far away.
Yeah.
And what is this month?
This is Spider Month. Spider Month does whatever a spider month.
And later,
Spider Month spins a web. Spider Month, look, he's dead. Look out! Here comes the Spider Month.
But later, we're gonna talk about the episode of Spider-Man called The Deadly Dust, 1970s Spider-Man TV show.
2-part episode, Tim.
Yep. Well, we watched it all at once.
Yep.
And also later today,
episodes.
we'll answer the age-old question: did Thomas Crapper ever get revenge on everyone for naming the toilet after him? Okay, let's go into the song.
It's SETI BIMCO Part 2, The Revenge. The show where we create revenge sequels that nobody wanted.
It's SETI BIMCO Part 2, The Revenge. The show where we make up revenge sequels to movies that didn't have them. And my name is Tim, and this is George. And we start every episode with a wild card question because we're gonna talk about Spider-Man Deadly Dust. We're gonna pick a number from a jar and decide who from this episode would be most likely to do something. And you know what, George? We ran out of questions. I had to make up a whole new 30 questions.
Oh wow!
So
what's the new question?
I picked a number. The number is 4.
4.
Who from this episode of Spider-Man that we're going to watch would be most likely to leave work early to check on his Sasquatch traps? The new questions are totally not going to all revolve around Sasquatch.
I don't believe it.
Did you write that down?
Yeah, I'm writing it right now.
Oh, good. You're a good co-host.
I'm even taking time to write it legibly because of my...
You're a good co-host.
6 pages of notes I took watching the Spider-Man. I can't read a lot of it.
I'll say something that happened recently because we have our friend Chris who doesn't listen to our show, and we went to the birthday party
do
of
we
his
name
wife.
him? Are we allowed to say his name?
We've said his name, not his last name.
We have? Okay.
We said Chris.
Should we say his last name?
No. We went to his wife's birthday party at a bar in Brooklyn, which I won't name, because I saw this man walking down the street while we were sitting outside. And I was like, I know that person. And he had like a big face to me and a small body. And George knows. Who was it that came to the bar while we were there?
Why, it was none other than Batman v Superman's General Zod. I forgot his name.
Michael Shannon, right?
Michael Shannon. I wouldn't say Michael Skinner. I'm like, who the hell's that?
General Zod.
Yeah, because Michael Shannon was at the same bar as us, hanging out at the bar.
I guess, obviously, they CG your body to look like Zod. That's why I was like, wait, you're big. Your face is big. I don't know where I know you from, but his body was just normal human sized.
Well, you went up to him. You said, I'm used to your face being, I would guess, about 20 to 25 feet tall, depending on the close-up.
Right.
And he just looked at you and sadly shook his head and then went back to drinking.
I said,
actually, that makes it sound like he was sadly drinking. Was he? We don't even know if he was drinking.
No, we can't comment on that.
He was at the bar.
He went to the bar. We were sadly
somebody
drinking.
Was talking to him briefly. I was standing there drinking.
But we were sadly drinking.
I was sadly drinking, though. Yeah.
You drank so much, you accidentally photo dropped pictures of your cat to my wife. And she's like, why am I getting pictures of George's cats?
And they were kind of provocative. Like, she was like laying in this like sprawled out position. I had taken this. So listeners to the podcast know the saga of my cat, Franny. Mm-hmm. Franny was sick for a while. It caused us to, you're hearing these episodes sometimes out of order. I was in absentia from this podcast because of Franny related concerns.
Yeah.
She's doing better, but now like my partner and I were always like, Franny's back. Everything she does is a cause for celebration now. Right. So if Franny lays there grooming her voluminous belly, her big fat pink belly, we take photos of that. And then I put it in my sweaty pant pocket, which sounds very dirty.
Yes.
And I did airdrop that to Tim's wife.
I'm glad you didn't airdrop the picture. That wasn't
the biggest occurrence that night.
Oh, sorry. I'm glad you didn't airdrop the picture of the 6-inch turd from last week. So everything Franny does is an event.
That was one of my other cats handiwork.
Okay.
And that was on my. Well, no, she didn't take a phone. She just held a. My girlfriend did not photograph said 6-inch turd, but she did. I can't. We're talking about poop this much already.
Stop. Okay.
But speaking of shit, not Michael Shannon, who's a fine actor, not our friend or our friend's wife, who's a fine friend and a fine wife of friend who was having a fine birthday party. Not even me airdropping photos.
No. Okay.
To Miss Lee, the most significant event of that night, the one that will live on in infamy in our friend circles, was Tim's complete and utter failure in Irish Goodbye. Thing to know about Tim is Tim loves to go to a social gathering and kind of disappear and then send a snarky text later like, surprise, I'm not really messing up your plumbing with a monster shit. No. I disappeared.
I don't text it.
You did that time. You did it at my place. We were all scared to go check. You had announced we were watching a movie in the backyard. You got to be like, I'm going to go to the bathroom. And we noticed you were gone for a while, but we were all a little scared. We're like, oh, Tim was eating some rough food and he's in there a while. It's probably not safe. And then you sent a text like 15 minutes later, like, see you later, suckers. Irish Goodbye.
Yes.
Irish Goodbye, for those of you who don't know, is the art of leaving a social gathering without saying goodbye to everybody. Just kind of disappearing.
It's the best way.
Tim and Miss Lee tried to pull the Irish Goodbye, but loitered near the entrance of the bar. They were pretending to look at shirts or something.
Yeah, they're selling
shirts. And then
shirts.
They started. It was the most obvious bit of sneakery I've ever seen. It was like a cartoon character trying to sneak. And the host of the party's like, hey, what are those guys doing over there? And we called after them. We're like,
oh, we should have run.
You should have ran. You should have pretended you couldn't hear us. You should have pretended to be doppelgangers. But they came back to us defeated. It was degrading.
I could have run, but my wife was like, I can't do it.
Well, you did shove her to the ground,
Yes.
and you started staggering off. But Michael Shannon got in the way of you, and he was like, kneel before Zod. And you did.
Yep.
It all comes together.
It all comes together.
We're trying to come up with a term. So if that was the Irish Goodbye, what was Tim's utter failure to pull off an Irish Goodbye? What is a failed Irish person called?
They would call it British Goodbye, right?
Oh, it probably was a British Goodbye.
What?
Tim, it was a Brexit.
It was. Very good.
Nice. I'm going to text our friends with that later. All right.
We pulled the Brexit. Done. This part's done.
Yeah. Real Brexit. So Tim, you shared an article about an instance of revenge.
Yeah. And I suddenly found this other one.
I read said article.
You read it? I don't want to talk about that one.
Oh, you don't? Okay. Wow. The one time.
I'm kidding you.
Finally do. Well, I forgot everything about it.
Oh, did you not keep the link? I'll read it.
Yeah, read it.
Or do you want me to talk about the other thing I found?
What's the other thing you found? Is it that mole? Because that was just an M&M.
I can't believe this. It seems like, well, I don't know how it fits into revenge. I'm trying to hem and haw into revenge. Remember 2017's Fry Festival that was a big disaster and that guy scammed everybody's money? And
Hold on, Tim.
Yeah?
It was the Fire Festival.
Fire. No, it's Fry Festival.
No, it's Fire, you fool. Oh, my God.
It's this Fry Festival. Just like...
No, it says Fire. Fyre. You lunatic.
So you were familiar with this, right?
Okay. Knowing you, there probably was a Fry Festival, and it was Grimace and a couple of the Fry guys, and they were in a field, and like they drank a shake and went nuts or something. But I remember the Fire Festival, yes. But wait. I want to hear your description
the Fry
of
Festival.
What the Fry? Yeah.
Well,
who is the guy, Tim? What's the guy's name?
Bill McFarland. Remember, he went to prison.
Oh, that's weird. That's the guy with the Fire Festival, too. Who was the guy that he was... who was the other guy he was teamed up with?
I forget.
Oh, what?
I do. I forget.
I'll give you a clue. I want you to guess. He was a hip-hop artist.
This is going downhill.
Yeah, this is going to be good. I can't wait to see you come up with your...
The hip-hop artist. I remember
who is it? Which guy? Who?
Oh.
Let the record show Tim is typing Google right now.
I'm not. I won't do that.
But he's entering Fry Festival, so he's going to get like MC Hammer or something.
Yes, it was MC Hammer.
It was MC Hammer, yes. So Billy McFarland, MC Hammer. Okay, go on. Tell us all about the Fry Festival.
Fire. I'm talking about the Fire Festival.
Oh, yeah. Oh, you
trick me.
switch gears. Okay.
Forget it. It's off the rails.
This is our best opening yet.
He's out of prison and he's doing another music festival.
Oh, really? What's it called?
But do you know about him?
No, I know. Okay,
he scammed everybody.
I know about Billy McFarland, who scammed the people. Like,
they went to the festival.
Paid $5,000 for the weekend. It was supposed to be like gourmet meals. They got like 2 pieces of bologna and white bread with like expired mayonnaise.
Yeah.
There was no place to stay. I think a lot of the music acts canceled.
Yep.
It was just people were live tweeting. It was a wonderful fiasco.
And he went to prison because he was,
Yep. Because he defrauded people. Yeah, it was clear, but well in advance of when it actually started happening. It was never going to be pulled off.
Yeah.
Yet he still collected everybody's money, shipped them out. It was just, it was terrible.
Tickets went on sale this last week for Fire Festival 2. That's what it's called.
Really?
That's what it's called. Yes. You have to Google to see if it's real. He's doing fire.
I'm Googling this right now.
I think the fest should be called Firefest.
Wow.
Round 2, Have I Got a Bridge to Sell You? How about that?
How about it's called the Burning Bridges Festival?
Yeah, that's good too.
Yeah.
Doesn't rhyme.
How about the... it has to rhyme?
It doesn't have to.
Tim, Fire Festival doesn't rhyme. You know that, right?
No, I said it should be called Fire Festival 2, Have I Got a Bridge to Sell You? Come on, selling a bridge is like a scam. That's a metaphor for scam.
Yeah, that's true.
This episode's full of metaphors. I give up on that whole opening. Let's move forward.
I have a follow-up question.
Yeah.
When you thought this was the Fry Festival, what was your joke going to be?
Like you said, Grimace and the Fry Guys. Remember the Fry Guys from the 70s? They were horrific.
Yeah.
They're like walking around.
They wear shoes. They were like,
fries
I guess they were
shoes.
multicolored fries with eyes and shoes.
And you couldn't understand what they
None
said.
of them were like yellow.
You couldn't understand what they said.
Did they not speak?
And you stuck fries into them. They were fries that ate fries. So it's...
Tim, you weren't supposed to... Were you inserting fries into Fry Guys?
No, they did on TV.
Oh.
Anyway.
What channel were you watching?
The Fry Festival, they passed around some bad acid. One Grimace was born and one Grimace died. And one Grimace was hatched and one Grimace died, yes.
Now, calling upon our lore of previous episodes, it's been established that Grimaces lay their eggs in clutches of 13.
Very good.
And only one Grimace survives to adulthood.
Yes.
So, Tim,
he ate
what happened that only one was born and one died?
Well, he ate his siblings.
But they still lived inside him?
No, one lived, one died. One ate his 12 siblings, and what I mean is an older Grimace died.
An older Grimace died. So actually 13 Grimacei, as they are called, died. All right.
They came and
That's
did
bad luck.
They put the electrical paddles on the Grimace that died, and they tried, but they did CPR on him, and he threw up a bunch of milkshake, and that was it.
That's great.
He died.
This went from being our best opening to our worst opening in the space of like 10 sentences.
No. Let's talk about the deadly dust.
All right. Okay, can I give some factoids about this?
Yeah, sure.
Right.
I only have one factoid, and you're going to steal it.
Oh, what's your factoid? You go first.
The director, Ron Satloff, I sent this to you. He only directed one other movie I can find, plus a bunch of... Wait a minute. He directed a film called Humanoid Defender. I sent you the trailer.
Oh, my God. Oh, I didn't see this. I honestly did miss this.
And he directed a bunch of Perry Mason returns.
Is that the new Perry Mason, the one that's on HBO?
Oh, God, no. In the 80s, the actor came back. He was old, and he helped out Matlock.
Wait, no, did he really help out Matlock? There was a crossover?
For some reason, in the 80s, I don't know. But there was all these old people. It was Matlock and...
There were old people in the 80s.
And who's that old lady that there was a murder in her town every week? Murder, She Wrote.
Angela Lansbury. Yeah, Murder, She Wrote. All right, well, here's my factoids about the second installment of Spider Month. Okay. So last week we watched the first of these movies, just called Spider-Man. It was a pilot, a movie-length feature. This was the first 2 episodes once it went to series. The series was called Amazing Spider-Man, ran for 2 seasons in the 70s, 78, 77, 78, I think, 78,
Yeah.
79.
79.
What's interesting about this one, you may hear us cross-referencing to it as a movie. It did get a theatrical release.
Oh,
Not in the United States, but overseas in Europe and in Australia,
Wow.
where it was called. Do you know what it was called?
The Very Deadly Dust.
No, Spider-Man Strikes Back.
Oh, yeah, that's right. I know that.
The funny thing about the Deadly Dust, the titular Deadly Dust, really is only mentioned in part 1 of this 2-part episode.
True.
But this is the one where we actually get the flavor of the actual series. There's a few differences from what we saw previous. Peter already has his powers. Aunt May, nowhere to be seen, although I think they maybe mention her once.
He mentions her in a lie, and I'm like, is she really alive even? Anyway, we'll get to that.
Yeah, that's she could be dead. A new actor playing J. Jonah Jameson.
Yep.
J. Jonah Jameson's second in command, Robbie Robertson,
Not there.
gone.
Fired.
Instead, there is a woman who I didn't record her character's name.
Rita.
But
Rita.
Yeah. And she is pretty much exactly the character of Glory Grant from the comics.
As a kid, I was confused.
Renamed for some reason. Glory Grant is J. Jonah Jameson's secretary. Same person, same thing. Look the same.
Yes.
Not the same person. Who the hell knows why? Yeah.
Can you
So
imagine?
should we
Can
start
you
this thing?
imagine seeing that in the theater?
Man, I would be pretty disappointed. I gotta say, I'm on the record when we did our first Spider-Man, not as part of Spider-Month. We did the Amityville Horror sort of Spider-Man takeoff. Go through our back history, you'll see it. And I was very impressed with it. So impressed with it that I watched another episode. I was like, I really like this old Spider-Man show that I kind of forget existed. I think I might like season 2 because this season one was pretty rough in a lot of ways.
Oh yeah, this episode.
I did not enjoy this, and it was pretty rough. Like realizing as what must have been the first episode because it was a 2-parter knit together into a movie. When I realized what must have been the part 1 was ending, and I'm like, that means I'm only halfway through.
Yes,
I was pretty bummed. I think I just turned it off for a bit and lay there staring at the ceiling.
Well, can I say?
Yeah.
Unlike the other episodes where we have to wait half an hour for Peter to become Spider-Man, this one starts with Spider-Man in action. So
with an actual pretty good special effect.
Which one? It was the same from the first episode. What happened? Which one do you mean?
Yeah, it looked good. So,
okay. Looked better.
This show, Spider-Man, famous New Yorker. This show clearly filmed in L.A., though the first part is set in New York. They find maybe the only tall building in L.A.
Right.
And there is a woman. We never find out why.
We do.
Who is going to jump? Why is she going to jump?
Because Captain Barbera is there. He's trying to stop a woman from jumping.
Captain Barbera, supporting character. He is a cop. He's like hey, he talks like this. I'm a real 70s sort of cop. I smoke while I sleep.
Because what he says to her is, hey, if you kill yourself, you never see your boyfriend again. And she's like, I don't want to see my boyfriend. That's why I'm doing this. And that's actually boyfriends.
So a woman who doesn't want to see her boyfriend,
you'll never see a guy again. And then he goes, you'll never have a pillow fight with your girlfriends again at a slumber party. She's like, I hate slumber parties. That's why I'm doing this.
What else did he say?
You'll never see the sequel to Star Wars. It's called Empire Strikes Back, and you're going to find out who Luke's father is.
They'll probably steal the title from our movie.
Yes.
Also, is Star Wars even out at the time they were filming this? I don't think it was.
Number 1, yeah. Come on, 77, right?
That comes out in 77. This was released in 78. I bet you they were still filming it.
Mm-hmm. You and your facts. George Fax.
George pays attention.
George Fax O'Connor.
Yeah, it's my middle name. But it's spelled like fax, like a facsimile machine. Yes. So my parents were early adopters of technology. That's not true at all.
No,
like
not.
Luddites. Anyway, so she's good. She's on like not the top of the building, like maybe the 16th floor of an 18th floor building.
I think it's the same building from the first episode where the man tried to jump. It looks just like the same architecture.
It probably is because there's not that many tall buildings in this area. Like you could see, there was a couple funny times they would show shots from the top of the building of the parking lot surrounding it, but they would make zooming traffic noise so as to simulate it was a street. But it's just it's a standalone building by itself. Mm-hmm. Captain Barbera, who is the only police officer on the scene, has been trying for a half hour to talk to this woman with his, various things about you'll never see your boyfriend. Spider-Man skitters down the side of the wall. And like I said, it looks pretty good.
It does.
And he just
shuffles over there.
Shuffles over there, kind of like creepily. This guy like doesn't scoop her up and carry her away.
No.
Doesn't like talk to her like, "Hey, you got other stuff to live for." Just kind of like clings over her and kind of like squirms her way over to the window, and then he disappears. And we learn.
Oh, George, he says a funny Spider-Man line. He says, "Special delivery, Captain Barbera."
Oh,
he's like,
I guess that's funny.
Thanks.
And he's like, "Wait, come back." But we do learn that this is the first time someone other than Peter Parker, who, spoilers, is Spider-Man, has photographed Spider-Man. People have seen it. It's on the news. It's his big coming out. Everyone's like, wow, there's a man with the powers of a spider in quote unquote New York City.
He's got lots of legs.
Then we cut to that reference to last week's episode.
We'll get to it.
Where J. Jonah Jameson
apparently
doesn't know how many legs a spider has. Speaking of J. Jonah Jameson, we then cut to the Daily Bugle offices, which is an empty office with a lot of typewriting noises in the background. And we meet Glory Grant,
George.
Who this is what?
They close in on the cornerstone of Daily Bugle.
Oh, the plaque. Yeah,
and it was founded in 1890. You know what happened in 1890?
No one else was founded in 1890? What, Tim? What?
You know what happened in 1890?
What, Tim?
Artist Vincent van Gogh died in France at the age of 37 after shooting himself 2 days earlier.
Wow. That's what else happened in 1890?
J. Jonah Jameson turned 12.
So he founded the Bugle when he was 12 years old?
No. He just turned 12.
Oh.
He was out in the street pushing one of those big circles around like a hoop with a stick, like kids did. You know, whatever that game was.
Okay. All right. So there is a great line here. Gives us a little bit of insight into the sassiness of not Glory Grant. She and Peter are buddies. We learn from their conversation she's been working for J. Jonah Jameson for a year.
Yeah, we know they're buddies. They got like a comedy routine going on.
Yeah, and she has this great line where she says, Jameson is so conservative, he won't eat a steak if it's pink.
Yeah, I heard that.
I thought that was pretty good.
They did a lot of takes because she improv takes. Did you see the ones that they didn't use that she said?
No, what else did she say?
She said, JJJ is so conservative, he wouldn't eat a hot dog unless it identified as a bottom.
Wow, what else did he say?
He's so conservative, he won't eat a Cookie Puss ice cream cake unless you add a Y to the end of that title. That name.
Cookie Puss?
Yeah, he won't eat a Cookie Puss ice cream cake unless you add a Y to the end of the name.
Cookie Puss, yeah. Yeah, Cookie Puss.
You trying to ruin what I was talking about, which wasn't trying to be a joke. Wait, he also said, she said, JJJ is so conservative. He won't eat hamburger helper because he thinks hamburger should pull itself up by its bootstraps and help itself.
That was pretty good, Tim.
Okay. But you add a Y to Cookie Puss.
Yeah, Cookie Puss.
A Y. Anyway.
I get it. Cookie Puss. Yeah, it makes sense. I get it. It's funny. Everybody's laughing at home.
I don't think.
I'm glad we're spending.
Are you pretending not to get it?
I'm glad we're a half hour into.
Are you pretending?
The first 3 minutes of this. All right.
He'll eat Fudgy the Whale just the way it is. Anyway.
So J. Jonah Jameson. Fudgy the Whaley? I don't get it.
Never mind.
J. Jonah Jameson is mad at Peter because Peter didn't. Well, because now it's not exclusive.
Yeah.
They've been selling a lot of copies of the Bugle with exclusive photos. It's really not fair to be mad at Peter and not Glory Grant's kind of like she gets sassy at him and Peter covers up or something. And there's another line I like. J. Jonah Jameson's like, if I wanted a partner, I'd have gotten one 30 years ago. And then I held up a drink for the poor Robbie Robertson not appearing in this episode. It's like last episode, you literally had a partner. I guess you killed him in the year in between.
I know.
And I don't know, something happens, but then we cut, which I was surprised to see, Miami Beach. And we are introduced to a glamorous reporter named Gail. Did you catch her last name?
Was it Hoffman? But her name is Gail.
I think it is Gail Hoffman. That's what I was remembering.
The woman who plays Isis on the Saturday morning.
I was wondering if you got that thing.
ISIS
Yeah,
TV show.
which must have been stunt casting, right?
Stunt casting?
Well, because
What do you
there
mean?
was like, so for those of you who don't know, and I actually, Tim, you might have to jump in because I really don't know.
You don't.
Because I was a little bit too young to watch this, but there used to be a Captain Marvel / Shazam show.
ISIS Hour.
And it was like a live action show. And then there was a made for TV super heroine that shared the show with him. It was like, I guess half hour was him, half hour was her, or 15 minutes.
Yeah.
Called ISIS.
Yep.
And did she have a partner? I don't know. I've never seen this before. I just know it exists just from being.
They were always
reading
always
comics.
boring stories with a lesson at the end. It's like, now Billy, you learn not to get in the white van with the man that's got candy.
And she was a high school student, right?
It's teacher, I think.
Am I making? She was. I don't know. See, I know nothing about her. I don't even. I guess she has vaguely goddess-like powers.
Yeah.
Anyway, like at the time that this episode was recorded, there would have been very few people who played live-action superheroes.
Right.
You know, there was a few things in movies here and there. There was Batman and Adam West and Burt Ward. So I think like the fact that on the first episode of Spider-Man that the co-star for the next two episodes is another television superhero. I feel like that must have, and she's very attractive, and they kind of play that up. She's like kind of like a Lois Lane who uses she's very capable and smart, but she also uses her power over men.
When she meets Peter, the camera is on her leg with Peter in the background, like sweating.
It's like it's the shot from The Graduate.
Yes, it is.
It's totally, and I guess she's older because she's like a full grown woman,
totally full grown
reporter,
woman.
And he's still a grad student. You need to get into it with the spider person. She's like, how? What? She's like, you know how to make men talk.
Yep. Now send me my steak well done with send me my steak with lots of pink dripping out of it.
Yeah, because he's a pinko, unlike J. Jonah Jameson.
We're a progressive newspaper.
All right, then let's cut back up to New York, where Peter Parker, college grad student, is in class, standing up in a lecture hall, yelling at one of his professors.
All the students are.
And
they're all upset.
There's 3 other students yelling too, and they're all yelling because they're very upset because the professor has announced to his students that he's going to be creating some sort of reactor. It's not quite a nuclear reactor, but they're going to be working with radioactive material that can be made into an atom bomb. They're all standing up and yelling. Peter and 3 other people. There's a nerd with glasses.
They basically shout the whole plot, George. They're like, no, don't do this. Terrorists will steal the dust, and they'll make a bomb, and they'll threaten the city. And he's like, oh, come on. We got these top-notch guards. They can barely run up a set of stairs.
The guards are fat old men. Yes. They literally say that part. But Peter, who owes his powers to radioactivity, who in the first episode was working with radioactivity, he's the most against it. And the students come back afterwards like, Peter, you're all right. You're a hip cat.
No.
And then they kind of have this weird bit afterwards. They're like one of the guys goes to the girl. It was two guys, like a guy with thick eyebrows, a guy with glasses, and a girl with like a terrible bob.
Craig. Because Craig, I'm going to refer to as secondhand Oppenheimer. Craig, he's the leader of this little
secondhand. Which one is he? The guy with the thick eyebrows?
Well, the man who makes the bomb mostly. He's the one. Well, he's the one that like, let's do this. He was in charge.
Spoilers, Tim.
Huh? Yeah. Well,
spoilers.
That's why.
Well, should we just say it then? Okay. Here's the idea. These students who are very concerned about the danger that this nuclear material poses, they steal the nuclear material and make a bomb out of it to show that it can be made into an atom bomb, but their bomb uses modeling clay instead of plastic explosive as the initial. But they render the material and all that stuff. Yeah, Tim.
No. I was just going to say, but I just wanted to say, Pete is so square. They're like, we're not going to ask Pete to help us steal this radioactive dust. He's a square.
They do call him square.
Yeah. So anyway, yeah, and the crack guards do come up the steps like having a heart attack. They're old and I'm not going to shame them in any other way, but they're old. And Spider-Man. Oh, yeah. Where do you want to catch up?
Well, let's just say, so the woman, the reporter, Gail Hoffman.
Gail. She has a name,
AKA
George.
Joanna Camera,
AKA
just ISIS.
A woman.
I literally just said her name, too.
Okay.
I said her name, the actor's name,
Gail,
and the former role. I gave her 3 names. She shows up at the Daily Bugle, where she meets Peter, because she's noticed that this one college student is always attached to bylines of Spider-Man.
Yep.
And is kind of like, she's kind of sensing there's a connection, which everyone who isn't a moron should realize at this point that there's a connection. Yes, Tim.
I do have something. Yeah, I know we can't do every scene, but before she talks to Peter, we have a dopey scene where she goes visits a spider expert. Doesn't she do that first?
Oh,
because
no, that's
it's early in the show, and
it is. You're right. Yeah,
he's almost as bad as Jameson, right?
He's an arachnologist, they call him, which I don't know if it's a real term. And he says this guy should be like, granted, we live in a world where a man did get spider powers.
Yes.
This guy's a lunatic.
He's like, because he'll excrete sticky substances from his hands and feet and stick to walls like a spider. And I immediately went to Google. I said, how do spiders stick to walls? It's because of
how do they?
All the little hairs on their legs.
It's little hairs, right? Yeah. Also, it says he'll make webs. This Spider-Man doesn't make webs himself.
No.
Like this guy, like just is like if a man could get the powers of a spider. Now we live, as far as we know, this world. No one else has ever had powers, has powers.
No.
And really, no one's seen Spider-Man do anything that couldn't be accomplished with like a hidden wire and some suction cups. And this lunatic's like, yeah, he's got all these powers.
He's got lots of legs.
and some of them are not. I think he does make a mention of multiple legs. Some of these powers are powers that Spider-Man definitely doesn't have and has to create mechanically. So then she goes, Gail Hoffman, a.k.a. Joanna Cameron, a.k.a. the actor who played Isis, goes to the Daily Bugle, meets Peter, takes him out to lunch and is interviewing him. And he's speaking about Spider-Man as a different person who he sometimes helps. And it's so obvious he's Spider-Man.
I know.
He even says, she's like, one point, she's like, you have a lot of insight into Spider-Man. And he's like, guess you could say we're a similar type. Yeah. No kidding, dude.
And then she said,
you are so bad at keeping your your secret identity. It's ridiculous.
But she says something about, I wonder if you'd fit in that tight suit. She does say something like that.
There is a line. Yeah, there's a line. Well, that's a recurring thing. He makes a joke later, too, about like, you never see me in tights.
I can assure you.
I have a theory that they did it. I'll get to that
We'll
later.
get to that.
I'm pretty sure they did. Yeah, we'll get to
that. But Peter has no friends. I don't know how he is attracted to this intelligent, beautiful woman.
Well, there's something
he has
I'm
no
noticing
other friends.
But every episode, it seems like there is a new love interest.
Yeah.
That because last episode, the first episode, there was Judy Jetson, the daughter of the somebody who's a victim of the guy who's a supervillain, but it's not really a supervillain.
Right. And
these two episodes, he's got Gail Hoffman. And the episode we saw previously, there's I guess in the second season, they add a reporter who's his right. So, but he never really although I do think he seals the deal in this one.
We'll get to that.
Yeah, we'll get to it.
So he leaves her high and dry because he knows plutonium's being stolen because his spider sense works totally just randomly to push the plot forward.
His spider sense, as opposed to warning him of imminent danger, warns him of plots. It actually shows him the future briefly in the scene in the second part. They're having when the Western Town showdown.
Oh,
he sees guys jumping through the Western doors.
He can see the future.
He sees the future. Yeah. So he senses that the plutonium is being stolen elsewhere in the world. So he makes an excuse that he has to go speak to a professor. He leaves her at the coffee shop to get the bill. He arrives too late, and the three stupid kids have already stolen it. Mm-hmm. And the two fat old men guards see Spider-Man as he disappears through a skylight.
Spider-Man is so slow.
He's, of course, blamed.
Yes.
It's almost like he has really shitty powers.
If Spider-Man had run up the stairs, he would have caught his friends.
Which, honestly, Tim, I have a note here. I was kind of not sure. I thought we were maybe dealing with an instance where somebody else, maybe one of those kids dressed up as Spider-Man, because he was behaving so clumsily. And then we see Spider-Man running up the stairs as Peter Parker afterwards.
I know.
He seemed surprised to hear the plutonium was stolen. Oh, by the way,
he could have.
Everyone, the name of this episode, "The Deadly Dust," refers to the plutonium is like a powder.
Yes.
And it can't really be made into an explosion, he says. But if you were to blow it off as a dirty bomb, it would be enough to give 12 million cases of lung cancer.
Yes. So much science in this episode.
There was actually. Now we cut to Switzerland, Tim.
Well, we did see
there's a
cool new effect. Spidey jumped out that building across. That was like the one time I was like, oh, an actual stunt. He jumped out of the window after the robbery, and I never saw that jump before. Anyway.
Oh, that's because they can only film it once because they cut before the stuntman plummets to his doom.
Yes, probably.
He just falls like a rock and splatters like a melon in the parking lot. All right, now we cut to Switzerland.
Yep.
And there's a guy who I thought was J. Jonah Jameson, but it's not.
Mr. White.
Mr. White. Now let's talk about Mr. White.
He could be Kingpin again, for all we care, but he's Mr. White.
The fact he's not Kingpin is outrageous. He is a supervillain.
Mm-hmm.
He is a very rich man who is surrounded by women in bikinis. As he says later, I like women in bikinis. Yeah. Did you catch who this actor was?
I thought I looked him up, but I really don't know what else he's from.
His name is... Oh, I didn't write down his first name. His last name is Alda. He's Alan Alda's dad.
What? Oh,
yep.
I did not realize that. Wow.
Yeah, that's awesome. I was pretty excited for that.
I didn't know his dad even acted.
Nope. And he has a brother that acts too, I learned from that. So Mr. White is this rich international criminal / terrorist businessman guy. Very hands-on. He has goons that do stuff for him, including this one rather big guy with a beard who beats the crap out of Spider-Man, even though Spider-Man's supposed to be thousands of times stronger than a person.
But should we just say it? Just like the villain in the last episode. He's got a bunch of karate henchmen.
Oh, every fucking episode of this has kung fu. It's so funny. There's just ridiculous. It's a sign. It's the 70s. The Western world had just discovered a thing called martial arts, and they were bananas for it.
Yes.
So they got every cut rate martial artist working in Hollywood to film a scene where he awkwardly fights against a guy in a Spider-Man suit.
Right.
But we're getting ahead of ourselves. Mr. White, who's getting a sponge bath, he's in a bath, getting rubbed by a couple ladies in bikinis, reads about the theft in the newspaper of the plutonium
being stolen. Somehow
doesn't know that Spider-Man was involved. I guess that part wasn't reported. We're still in the setup of the first part of it.
Well.
All right, can I just do one of my things where I cut a lot of stuff together?
Okay.
All right, so there's 3 students who stole it. They're in their fucking apartment.
Yep.
They have a Geiger counter and they're making it into a bomb. But it's
Craig's.
It's literally like it's going. It's so radioactive. And the woman with the blonde hair is just using a long stick to pour this now molten Carla to pour this molten material in there.
She's helping up.
And so the next scene, of course, she has fucking radiation poisoning. She passes out. They take her to the hospital where Peter's like, "Oh, you have radiation poisoning. You stole it." They're like, "Yeah, we built a bomb out of it." "Why'd you make a bomb?" "To show that they shouldn't do because someone make a bomb out of it."
You're missing something. Peter's like, "Shh, don't tell anyone." But there's one of the henchmen right in the phone booth. Remember?
I forgot. Yeah, I skipped a kind of important thing. Peter gets a phone call while he's hanging out with the reporter, Gail, that some famous news anchor wants to interview him. Meet him at his hotel in an hour.
That's right.
He goes there.
And she comes.
His spider sense warns him that there's going to be people jumping out and beating him up. He's Peter Parker, so he can't really fight.
No.
They grab Gail. There's a whole kerfuffle.
They kind of have a running kerfuffle, yeah.
Yeah, they escape.
On a ledge.
By climbing out onto a ledge.
Mm-hmm.
And they go into the next building. They get down. They catch a cab. They're like, drive. The cab is like, where to? New York. And then they can't go. This is the part where Peter gets lucky.
Yeah, because they can't go home.
Peter's
so she's like,
she's like, you can't go to your house because you live with your aunt in the attic, or not, I guess.
Yep.
She's like, you could stay with me at my hotel.
Yep.
And they cut to the taxi driver who's like, ah. Then we don't see him for a while because
turns it to the groovy disco station. Music starts.
He plays some Barry White. Yeah, it's pretty hot. So Peter spends the night at the hotel with the sexy older lady.
Yep. But when this is weird, when Captain Barbera comes in and wants to know where he's been because because now they want to talk to Peter because he knows Spider-Man. And he's like, where were you last night? And he's like, I was right here. And Barbera's like, ooh. He goes, I slept on the couch. I'm like, what do you care, Peter?
Also, you know what? They showed the two of them come out of the room. Peter's getting dressed. She's getting dressed. They boinked. Like, there's some weird thing that they couldn't be like, no, Peter Parker.
I slept on the couch,
sex.
Captain Barbara, after I was tired out from sleeping with her all night. I needed a
Because
nap.
she snores after you give her a good jib jam. Whoa.
But he does have his own apartment this time. He's no longer living with Aunt May, like in the previous episode.
Which we weren't sure if he was with Aunt May, because there was Steve, his lab partner, who was actually Steve Rogers, made that reference about you could get it delivered at your house, who lives in your aunt's house, who lives in Queens.
He was living up in the attic. He was crawling out of her house.
I think
he moved out.
So here, I thought about it, Tim.
I thought about it too.
He had his own place.
And there's three straws to the camel's back that made Aunt May kick out Peter.
Oh, another list. These lists are great because they really stop us from talking about the plot. Go for it. What's the list? What are the three?
The number one. See, Peter demanded a Cookie Puss ice cream cake for every occasion, including Uncle Ben Remembrance Day. And this is very odd.
And as previously established, he's responsible for Uncle Ben dying.
This obsession with Cookie Puss weighed heavy on Aunt May's heart. And the second reason...
Oh, this is a long list.
On St. Patrick's Day, Peter demanded they get a Cookie-O-Puss ice cream cake, and he talked in an Irish accent all day, and this odd behavior also weighed heavy on Aunt May's heart.
All right,
And the third reason, Peter brought home a 20-pound cat named Cookie Puss, and he demanded they adopt it, and it always slept on Aunt May's chest, and this was weighed very heavy on Aunt May's heart, and thus she kicked him out.
Oh, my God.
There you go.
That was such a long walk for such a shitty joke. While they're at the hospital with the woman with radiation poisoning, and Peter figures what's happening, Mr. White and his goons break into the people's house at home, steal the bomb.
That's right.
And disappear.
But Peter, doesn't Spider-Man show up to help? Because he puts the first appearance of the spider tracker on their car, right? Is that here or is that later?
There is a spider tracker. I thought Peter did it, but he says it's Spider-Man's. I don't know. Episode ends. They get Mr. White gets away with the bomb. Peter's like, he could kill millions.
But they blame Peter and Spider-Man now. They're blaming them both or something. Remember, that's why they want to talk to Peter.
Peter's blamed because his professor says the only person in the class who's smart enough to build the bomb is Peter.
And
but the guy who you're calling Oppenheim off-brand Oppenheimer.
Craig, hand me down.
He said he could do it, but he did it wrong, and that's why she gets radiation poisoning.
That's why.
Also, those three characters are done as a point one. Now we move on to Mr. White.
Because they bring Carla to the hospital. Yes, we never know what happens to her, do we, George? Carla.
She dies.
Carla.
Or
Carla. Yes, okay. Anyway.
All right.
She's getting treated for radiation poisoning.
All right. Now can I get into the second part?
Let's see. Let me just see my notes. Okay. What's part two?
All right. So I'm just looking through. Oh my God, there was the line. Okay.
Oh, you meant he went in the hospital. He went in the bathroom because Gal showed up. The whole thing in this episode is Gal keeps showing up. And he's like, damn it, I can't turn into Spider-Man. Remember, she came to the hospital. And he's like, okay, Gal, I got to go to the bathroom. And he turns into Spider-Man and goes out the window. And she comes in there and finds out he's missing.
There's also a weird scene where there's a blonde doctor combing his hair.
Yep, he wouldn't leave.
It's odd. All right, do we get everything we need to talk about this?
Yep, because that was boring.
Oh, and Peter gets in a fight as Spider-Man with the big henchman who beats him up and throws him off a roof.
He says, watch how an exterminator squashes a bug, and he throws him off the roof.
Yeah.
Great line.
He picks him up over his head, throws him off. Peter just gets whooped, doesn't do a good fight at all. And the guy thinks Peter's dead, but Peter shoots a relatively decent special effect.
Yeah.
He shoots a web and catches himself.
He never looked. I can't believe he wouldn't look to see.
And he doesn't look because he just tells Mr. White, he's dead. I threw him off a 16-story building. He's dead.
Yeah. You should see how the exterminator squashes bug. Did I tell you that, Mr. White?
Oh, and at some point, Peter gets fired by J. Jonah Jameson, and understand why.
Because he's suspected of being a terrorist.
Oh, that's why. Yeah. And he goes, you're fired. And he goes, Chief. And then he goes, don't call me Chief. What do I look like, Sitting Bull? And I'm like, racism.
Yes. At first, it was going to be a funny Superman reference, but then it went downhill right to racism.
Yeah, really. So we'll show you how Superman works. Superman, you need more of this. All right.
So they all go to L.A. because the bad guys somehow take this radioactive object to L.A. on a flight. I don't know.
I guess they have a private plane.
Okay.
And somehow or another, there's somebody that not Glory Grant knows, who works on because apparently she knows people, like this is just established. She knows people at a lot of different police precincts. She knows someone in California who says that there's some reason why it's out there. Oh, no, because Peter finds his license plate and they realize it's a California license
and Peter's
plate.
like, send me out there, and Jonah Jameson.
She has a great line, Glory Grant.
What'd she say?
She says, that boy's got more things shaken than a belly dancer in an earthquake.
That's right. I remember that.
I paused it to write that down. I had to get it out. So now Peter, with this information, and it's a whole scene with a lot of back and forth, but he gets rehired by J. Jonah Jameson. Yes. And J. Jonah Jameson, and Gail Hoffman, and the Peter. Love interest who we stuck it to, they all fly out to California.
Yes, J. Jonas was like, I gotta go.
I love that this is basically the people filming this movie being like, thank God we don't have to keep dressing up the 7 or 8 tall buildings in downtown LA as New York City anymore. We can just pretend, we can just acknowledge we're just in fucking LA.
We are. And you know what was funny about that flight? When they all three of them flew to LA, JJ demanded to have the window seat. You know why?
Because he saw a gremlin?
So he could yell at clouds.
Because he's an old man. He yells at clouds.
Yeah, and the other reason was he wanted to be as far right from center as he could, right side of the airplane.
Good. And he's like, this food better not be pink.
And he wanted to keep an eye out for the Japanese because he still didn't trust them. They might try to attack Pearl Harbor again. This is Jameson. He's very racist. He's very racist.
You were on a roll. And then sometimes the law of threes doesn't need to happen. Like the first 2 were good. Third one was esoteric at best.
It was.
Tim.
It's Jameson's racism.
Yeah. So the 3 of them, it's like they're at a hotel. We see him. Jameson orders an orange juice for $2. You want to know how much that would be?
Oh, yeah. How much?
In today's money?
Do it.
$9.38.
Ooh, it would be. It'd be $10. It'd be $10 easy. And he's sitting out there in his suit by the pool.
He's a suit. And we get our first shot. Notice I say first.
Yes, I know.
Of Gail in a bikini. No, she's not in a bikini. She's in a bathing suit.
And he's like,
a very demure bathing suit.
Where's Peter? Get him down here. Why don't I look at ladies by the pool with Peter?
Yeah. Well, we see Peter in a bathing suit.
He did put a Speedo on at first. Sorry.
He didn't have a Speedo, did he? No, he had like little orange shorts.
At first he wore a Speedo to the pool, but management came out and said, no one older than 80. If you're over 80, you got to wear a suit by the pool.
You are not European enough to wear that. So we see Peter in his bathing suit. He wears like orange 70s shorts. He has a towel over his chest because he doesn't want to show off his chest.
Has a little Spider-Man emblem on his shorts.
He's got the spider tracer. Got a little spider emblem, which was probably a bad move. They go trail the bad guys because he put the... Wait, did they fucking fly?
Did you see
Did they drive across country?
All right. Yes, they flew. I don't know. Yes.
No, they flew, but did the bad guys? Because he put the tracer in their car.
That's why I said, did they fly this radioactive material out there, or did they drive all the way out?
I hate the show now. Yeah.
Well, they're tracking. They took turns. There were 4 of them, George. They took turns driving. They played their 8-track tapes. Every once in a while, one of them,
a weird criminal mastermind.
One of them would push the cigarette lighter in, and they're all like, "Uh-oh, who's he going to burn? Who's he going to burn with the cigarette lighter?"
That's why one of the guys was hideously burned.
Yes, that was like, what is that? A 24-hour drive across the country? It's longer than that. But Peter.
So,
George, I'm getting this in, George. At the swimming pool, when Peter came out with the swimsuit, it had a Spider-Man emblem on it. And Gal's like, are you sure you're not Spider-Man? He's like, nope. Not, Anyway, okay. Now we can move on.
Did it really have a Spider-Man? It was orange.
No, George.
I'm going to really condense it now because we've been talking a long time.
We have been, but it's been all gold.
So here's what happens.
Car chase.
Mr. White is going to use the actual atom bomb. He's going to blow it off in the place. They have a description in the place he can do the most damage. Mm-hmm. And they're all like, New York would be. There's much more people there.
I know.
But then they realize it's because the president's flying to LA. He's going to kill the president. But unless he gets a certain amount of money, it's like a ransom thing.
He knows the president's coming, but who doesn't know the president's coming? Our reporters, our stupid reporters. Later on, they're oh my goodness, the president's here. Didn't you notice that? They had no idea.
Yeah, I figured they were very busy.
Okay.
There's a car chase, which is pretty unimpressive.
Oh, they let go of little spikes and they poke Peter's.
They pop the tires in Peter's car,
and then they go steal bikes.
And then Peter steals a bike.
White people
and then
can
Gail
do anything.
steals a bike from the same person.
Yeah.
And then they blame it on their dad, J. Jonah Jameson, who comes up, and he's given a degraded tricycle sort of bike.
So bad.
And the three of them go racing into the Hollywood Hills, where, wouldn't you know it,
Spahn Ranch.
Peter has a showdown. Well, it could have been Spahn Ranch.
It was, George.
It was like an old Western town.
You watch this episode.
Peter has a showdown with, he's Spider-Man now.
Yes. Western town
he gets
showdown.
there first. They're literally playing like weird Western music.
George, it's not weird.
Harp.
It's called the spoon harp.
Oh, it's the mouth harp.
Don't insult. Yeah. Oh, it's called the mouth spoon, or the spoon harp.
Mouth spoon. We all know what this thing is.
Not a.
Then there's a fight.
A lot of karate fights.
And
at this point, I want to point out he had so many opportunities to damage their car. They got away so many times when he put the spider tracer on. I mean, just tear the steering wheel off like you did last episode. And anyway, they get away again from the Western.
He's losing fights to just big guys. I don't think he's super strong anymore.
Yeah. So they do a lot of Western stuff at Spahn Ranch.
Yeah. And he webs like a porch down on a guy.
Yep, that was good.
But they all get away. It's just kind of like they were like filming in LA. They're like, well, we don't have enough tall buildings. Let's have Spider-Man fight in an old Western setting.
He beat two of them.
What it was.
He tied them up, but one guy got away.
Yeah.
The leader.
And yeah.
Then they go to a music studio because they find out where Mr. White lives, if you want to move the plot forward.
Yeah, because he's actually, as it turns out, a musical producer.
Yep. He's got his fingers in all sorts of businesses.
Yeah.
I like that. Did you hear that song?
And
the hound dog is howling on my street.
I wrote down Tim is fucking excited.
Yes.
So if you listen to previous episodes, you know that one of the hallmarks of a Tim choice of a movie is awful music, that they will be like this twangy folk shit.
No.
There'll always be like a song written by the director and it goes for like 10 minutes in it. This was not necessarily that, but we heard like these two random people who were not characters just recording like a whole fucking song.
Yes.
And then Peter and Gail, they pretend Gail is a singer. And of course they immediately recognize these two people.
I'll put the song in right here.
So
hound dog is howling on my street.
You really putting it in?
Yeah, put it in.
Sing along. All right.
You say you love me and everything's right. When a hound dog is howling on my street. When a wild man loses control.
They kidnap Gail. They make her dress in a bikini. So people.
The reason given, we finally get Mr. White's line. She's like, "Why did you dress me in bikini?" And he's like, "I like women in bikinis." I'm like, I mean, this guy.
And to make sure you have no weapons. So.
Oh, he does point that out, yeah.
Yes.
And Gail is, of course, she is a spicy meatball.
Yes.
I was surprised to see that this woman who was pretty famous as Isis. Yeah, she was very, very fit. She was well known as Isis, worked here. Her last role that anyone knows of was 1980. Like, she just gave up and worked in hotels.
Well, you know.
Like, she seemed like she had a pretty
Hollywood can
healthy
be
career.
crappy for ladies. Maybe she just didn't like it.
Yeah, I unfortunately, it's probably something like that. Because she's still, you know, we know that there's like there's a lot of ageism in Hollywood and stuff. She still seems like she's a very young actor. She still seems she's still definitely very attractive. And she still seems to be getting a lot of work.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just very surprising that like she just gave up. But yeah, it's probably some sort of fucking Harvey Weinstein shit.
Yeah.
But
Spider-Man breaks into their compound. Is that what we're up to? He drives a car, climbs up the hill. I call this guy Man Mountain Marco, the big guy he keeps fighting, by the way.
Oh, reference to the actual comics.
Yeah.
That's actually good. Yeah, he should be.
Yeah. I don't know if he's named. Yeah. But did you see how he beat Man Mountain? You remember? Or were you just getting...
No, I don't. I don't remember how he beat
him. They had a face-off near the pool. Spidey punches him. He falls in the pool. And he's like, you beat me. I'm all wet. That was pretty much the end of the fight.
Yeah, he just dumps him in a pool. Like, this guy tried to murder you by throwing you off the roof. And he's like, well, my pants are soggy now, and I don't fight when I got wet underpants.
That's right. I'm going to chafe.
So the bomb this all delayed. The bomb's already been set.
Yeah, Mr. White is
Apparently
doing
nobody knows it's going to blow off. Mr. White already blew it, and Mr. White's like, we got to get out of here. He's in a helicopter. Peter knows where the bomb is somehow.
This part is
This
ridiculous.
part, I didn't understand what was happening because it's LA, so there's
Yeah.
no tall buildings to swing from. Peter is in the air.
No, Peter goes to the airport
he's-
and to a man. He's like,
He
hey, you want to take me up in a helicopter? I'm doing like evil Knievel stuff. And
yeah,
but
and the guy,
but I don't have
he's
any
like,
money.
I can't pay you now.
And he's like, don't worry about it. Let's do this.
Guy takes him up in the air.
And you can see
They-
the boom
they
mic.
see
I
he's-
must point this out.
I did there. I wrote the bit. I saw the boom mic
Yes,
part.
the boom mic was right
which
above their
it-
heads this whole scene. So
It's amazing. He goes up in the helicopter. Peter sees kind of where he needs to go. He jumps out and
yeah,
I guess is flying.
no, he was falling.
Like, I
but
know
I don't know
in
what
the
his plan
comics,
was.
yeah, and in the comics, I think it's been established that he sometimes is depicted with webbing. Like Steve Ditko, the creator of Spider-Man, drew him with this webbing under his arms, and he could glide a little bit.
Yeah,
But he's like just full on flying for like a long time. Then he sees Mr. White's helicopter, webs it,
yes,
swings off it, lands where the bomb is, deactivates the bomb. And I was actually happy to see this. You know, it's always like 2 seconds left or something.
Yeah.
It was 5 minutes, 2 seconds.
What? I didn't notice that.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm like, oh, yeah. I mean, why does it always have to be last second? Is there enough thrills? They were like, yeah.
He could have gotten another karate fight
And-
in.
He could have. But this is the thing that's crazy. Mr. White gets away.
That's right.
The bad guy, the big bad guy, 2-part episode, straight up supervillain. We didn't mention this. Mr. White dresses head to toe in white. Like he even kind of had, like, I mean, it's a suit, but it's kind of like a costume. Like the closest they've come yet to an actual supervillain. He's even got a name that kind of ties into
His
it.
hair is white.
And he escapes. He'll be like, he'll see me again. And I checked, he never comes back. But clearly they're setting him up for another episode. Like he was gonna be no Green Goblin, no fucking Kraven the Hunter or whatever. They're like no Venom, no any of those characters is gonna be Mr. White, the arch enemy of Spider-Man. But he never comes back.
Well,
And
just like
and then it ends.
that's it.
With Peter having dinner, I guess, with Gale again.
Yeah.
And they're making jokes, and she kind of gives a wink, which I interpret as she knows he's Spider-Man, but isn't going to say anything.
Because we missed a part. He was on the roof in his swimsuit checking his scanner, and Gal was up there going,
Oh, she literally asked.
She says, "Are you Spider-Man?" He goes, "Can you imagine me?" And then she's like, "Yeah, I can imagine you."
But she knows he's Spider-Man. She's been naked with him. She saw his spider tattoos.
Oh yeah, what did Peter do with his Spider-Man outfit when he slept over at her house? Because it's always under his clothes.
Right? It's right there. He's like, I wear that for Spider-Man for when he needs it. I always have it under my clothes.
It's warm. I keep it warm for him.
Like, there's always that kind of thing in all these shows where there's secret identities. Like it somewhat makes sense that like I get it. Like, all right, Tim, if we lived in a world where there was really like a Spider-Man type thing, and for whatever reason you took a photo of him, and like it was published, it was well known. My first reaction wouldn't be like Tim is Spider-Man, but I would definitely be thinking immediately Tim knows Spider-Man. And then very shortly after, it would come to, oh, Tim is Spider-Man. And they always do that. They're like, it makes sense. Your first reaction isn't going to be, you're secretly this character.
Mm-hmm.
Like Spider-Man pretends to be a real person and he's you. But the fact that nobody does answer this more, but I thought they kind of did it clever, like where I do think Gale knows. She gives him this wink and he gives a very goofy smile, like, and the end.
He had a shot with her, but he told her about how he, in the university production of Annie musical, he wanted to play the dog. And she's like, I don't know about you, Peter.
And he wanted to be Annie, so he was trying to get her to roll her eyes back in her head so they're just white orbs.
Yes. What was the dog's name? Sandy. Wanted to play Sandy.
Oh, I was going to say Arf, but that's what the dog says.
Yeah.
I thought he blew it because the foreplay was he webbed her up in the corner and then trying to suck her blood. And she's like, nah, this is creepy. And then he ate a fly in front of her. She's like, get out of my house.
Yeah, that
Go sleep on the
scientist, he
couch.
should have been like, yeah, and he'll suck all the fluids out of a person and leave a husk behind all webbed up.
And then he'll lay eggs. He'll have a big sack on his belly. It'll be filled with thousands of little spider babies.
And he has multiple
right.
eyes. Anyway, he should have said stuff like that. Let's do revenge. Wherever you are, wherever you're hiding, I'll find you. I'll get you. I'll get you.
Revenge.
I'll get you.
Revenge.
revenge. One of us will die. One of us will die.
I will
One of
not
us
let
will
Cindy
die.
take
One
my
of us will
place.
die.
I will have my revenge.
All right. So first,
Yeah.
our wild card question.
Let's really nail this week,
Most-
George. Let's nail this.
Okay.
I've been
Because last week, if you remember, we really nailed it with the Smithsonian.
stole it. Yes.
So this one is most likely to leave work early to check on his or her
Yeah.
Sasquatch traps.
I should say his or her. It's just,
Yes, you should
it
say
was written
that. I
by-
corrected you.
yeah. Mr. White wrote
By a
these.
sexist.
So do you want to start with someone or you want me to just throw it out there?
You start.
It's the curly-headed student who is also helping build the bomb. Because
We didn't really establish. Can you?
his name
so there
was
there
Wally Crabtree,
Wally.
and he had come
Okay,
from
well, Jesus
he'd come
Christ.
from Arkansas to go to school, and after that incident, he just went back to Arkansas. And then what, George?
He was played by the actor Robert Crabtree, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Keeping alive the Boggy Creek related phenomena of Crabtrees changing their first names. The sad thing is that he was, going to school in the East Coast. So
Mhm.
he, Bigfoot, of course, notoriously in the Northwest. It would have made more sense for one of the California-based characters to do this. However, years ago, this same student had seen a little movie called Shriek of the Mutilated.
Oh my goodness.
Shriek of the Mutilated is a film about a group of students looking for a Bigfoot in upstate New York that was trapped after the last ice age or
Called a
something.
Yeti.
Turns out there's more going on than we realize, but he thought it was a fucking real thing.
Uh-oh.
So in between making an atom bomb, this motherfucker is sneaking up on the Metro North Railroad, shooting up to like Beacon or something.
Yes.
And that guy is laying out Bigfoot traps. Tim, what were the Bigfoot traps?
One of his dead friends. So that's what you use for Bigfoot bait, right? His other
Did he take what was her name? Rita? Carla?
Carla.
Did he take Carla's comatose,
In this-
radiated form and leave chunks of it out in the woods?
In this universe, yes, Carla died, and he took her up there and tied her up as a Bigfoot trap. And Bigfoot,
Okay.
he never caught Bigfoot. It was, it's at the end. He never fought. They never
Yeah,
catch
I did.
Bigfoot. They never catch Bigfoot.
They never catch Bigfoot unless it's Alpha Flight,
Yes.
the comic,
Ugh, my
which
God.
he's a member.
My God.
Oh,
Bring it
you
home,
mentioned
George. Bring it
comics.
home, George. He was mad.
I hate it. I hate when you mention comic books.
He couldn't catch a Sasquatch, so he lost his university stipend, and
And that's why he was so shaky making the bomb, because he was so distracted by his inability to catch a
Mm-hmm.
Bigfoot that he left the top off the deadly dust top,
Mhm.
and that's how Carla got irradiated in the first place.
Yes.
So it was like it all ties in.
he ended up working
Now, Tim.
at Subway, the first Subway. He worked at the first Subway. that was his job. He stayed there for years.
Nice.
He's got his
He's
pension.
a sandwich
He's
artisan.
got his Subway pension.
Good for him.
Yeah. And he is a scientist.
That's
He's the one
him.
that figured out that Subway meat has no meat in it.
It was specifically
Tuna.
when they did genetic testing on the tuna, there was no discernible tuna.
And they said, shut up.
It might have still been meat, but it wasn't
They
fish.
said, shut up. And they slapped his ear. And he's like, oh, you're slapping my ear.
No one must.
Come on.
Oh no.
Don't slap my
move
ear.
on.
His boss was Mr. Gower.
I'm gonna do
Mr.
something very
Gower
nice
was
for
in
you,
charge
Tim.
of the Subway.
Shut up! End this.
he also
I'm trying.
sold
I'm gonna stop.
medicine.
I'm gonna stop recording right now. Leave. I was planning on doing my revenge sequel about the character Carla,
You can do it. It doesn't
which
matter.
clearly you were doing as well. But I thought I have an alternate one.
Okay.
So I'm gonna need a little bit of time to work on it. So I'm gonna let you do your Carla thing first.
Buckle down, people.
Start the music.
Her full name was Carla Gregor Samsa. This woman who got irradiated.
Oh,
So Carla
this is already good. This is good.
Carla Gregor Samsa. She woke up in the morning at the hospital to find herself transformed in a monstrous vermin. In fact,
Oh my god, if you're gonna read the entirety of Metamorphosis with the name Carla just added in, I'm gonna leave.
not only was she poisoned by radiation, she was bitten by a radioactive cockroach. She finds she is now a giant cockroach. She initially considers the transformation to be temporary and slowly ponders the consequences of this metamorphosis. Stuck on her back and unable to get up and leave the bed, Carla Gregor reflects on her job as a university assistant to second-hand Oppenheimer Craig, which she characterizes as being full of temporary and constantly changing human relationships which never come from the heart. She sees her employer as a despot and would quickly quit this job if she were not her family's sole breadwinner while working off her college tuition. You have a question, George?
I have a question. Are you really just going to do Metamorphosis the entire time?
Shh. I'm sticking to this bit. Stick with me. While
I'm going to go inside. Let me know when it's over. Call me on my phone.
Come on. 3 more paragraphs.
3 more paragraphs.
Tiny,
All right,
tiny. While trying to
All right.
move, Carla finds that Craig has shown up to check on her, indignant about Carla's unexcused absence from the lab. Carla attempts to communicate with both Craig and her doctor, but all they can hear from behind the door is incomprehensible vocalizations. Carla laboriously drags herself across the floor and opens the door. Craig, upon seeing the transformed Carla, flees the hospital and checks the personal ads for a new girlfriend. Carla's family shows up and is horrified, and her father drives her back to their home, injuring her side by shoving her when she gets stuck in the car door. Okay, bringing it home. Carla stays mostly in a room as her family does not want to see her. She plots revenge against Craig secondhand Oppenheimer for her predicament, but she can never get a taxi or take a bus without causing a panic or getting attacked by the mysterious Spider-Man. Thus, she sneaks out to the living room at night and calls the Carvel hotline, and she orders Fudgy the Whale cakes for Craig every day. Sometimes she orders Hug Me Bear or Cookie Puss just to switch it up.
Is it COD, so he has to pay for it?
Yep.
Is he constantly having to borrow money from people?
Yep. $46.
Did you have $46?
40.
Yeah, okay.
By this time, as I said, Craig, being a jerk, moved on quickly, moved in with a new girlfriend named Sue. But Sue collected globes of the earth. She had big globes.
Was Sue invisible?
Small globes? No. Sue-Ann. And she collects antique globes of the world, everywhere in the apartment. They fill the entire apartment. As the year went on, and Carvel, Cookie Puss, and Fudgy the Whale cakes continued to show up every day, Craig Lame-Ass Oppenheimer was slowly losing his mind until St. Patrick's Day, when Fudgy O'Hennessy the Whale showed up. And Craig secondhand Oppenheimer, being drunk because it was St. Patrick's Day, lost his mind. It's okay, he was Irish. He lost his mind, and he destroyed all the globes in Sue-Ann's collection. And as he lay on the floor exhausted amongst the remains of all the globes, he said, "Now I am become death, the destroyer of globes."
Oh! God damn it!
You know what this movie was called? I never...
Barbenheimer.
Metamorphosis I didn't hate. There you go.
Oh, damn.
What? Good.
That was just...
You were really...
All right, is anybody still listening out there?
You were really scared I was going to read the whole story.
You might as well have. So the world won't get to hear my story of Carla becoming Dr. Octopus, which would have made sense.
Mm-hmm.
She uses the arms to mix the chemicals. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Instead, yeah, it was just fucking right there.
Well, you can still do it. You just did it.
No, everyone. The name Carla's been poisoned by radiation due to you. I'm doing a different story.
Okay.
So this is what occurred to me while we were talking. All
Gonna
right.
have a guy in a yellow hat.
No. Instead, start the music.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Hit button.
The Deadly Dust ends with Spider-Man's arch nemesis, Mr. White, escaping unscathed, vowing to see him again. Unfortunately, despite high ratings, the show never did feature Mr. Alda again as the nefarious Mr. White. That doesn't mean he didn't have his revenge, because revenge, of course, is a dish served best cold. He was forced to abandon, because the whole world would eventually have found out, even through a dumbass like Peter, that this famous recording executive was going to blow up a bomb and kill the President of the United States. He had to abandon his identity. He fled back to Switzerland, which conveniently has no extradition treaties. He lived in a chalet with a bunch of women in bikinis, giving him baths.
I know he's going to be.
Eventually, one of those ladies he fell in love with. Her bikini just had a certain allure. He had children with her, 2 children. And eventually he decides he's going to have to take revenge on Peter Parker Spider-Man.
Oh, okay.
He doesn't know they're the same person. He knows these are people, 2 individuals who fucked up his stuff. Spider-Man's career has gone all this different stuff. He's fought Dr. Octopus, who was an irradiated woman named Carla. He fought the Kingpin, who was a guy who was mind control. He fought Mysterio, other people. Yeah, all these kind of like villains. He's been watching it from afar. And while he's in Switzerland, though, Tim, he still kept up his music career because he still needed to make the capital for this.
Oh, did he manage ABBA?
But he had to do it under a pseudonym. Huh?
Did he manage ABBA?
No. Instead, he went a little bit closer to the west coast of the United States.
Okay, he managed
In Utah,
Fleetwood
he
Mac.
found a family of fresh-faced, overly toothed siblings
Osmonds?
named the Osmonds.
Ah, George.
Yeah.
Wandering into my
Gave them all
territory.
lucrative recording careers. Yeah, I know. I'm stealing it right from you, the way you stole it from me. Made them teen sensations.
Okay.
Bubba Osmond, Donny Osmond, Sherlock Osmond,
Maria.
Ozzy Osmond, Maria Osmond.
Carla.
I don't know. What
Carla
their-
Sansa.
Carla Osmond. No, Carla was Dr. Octopus. And in their music, he records subliminal messages. Subliminal messages that will help him take over the world. But he gets kind of comfortable. You know, he gets lost in being a dad.
Mhm.
He gets lost in, like, you know, just like getting bikini baths from like bikini ladies all the time and stuff. And he forgets. Eventually, one day, Peter Parker stops being Spider-Man.
Why? Why, George?
Nobody knows. He got old. His back was creaky. Maybe he married Mary Jane. Maybe he married Gwen Stacy. Maybe he married Glory Grant. Maybe he married Flash Thompson. We don't know. But he retired. And that's when Mr. White realized he waited too long.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, and the Osmonds, they'd also faded into obsolescence at that
They
point.
did.
There's really only one spot, one corner of the world where they were still remembered. And that was on a semi-obscure podcast called SETI Vimco. And so he knew he had to activate his doom switch.
Yeah.
So as his last act, Mr. White, the nefarious Mr. White, he flipped that switch.
Mm-hmm.
And everyone in the world who was listening to the Osmonds at that moment went into a kill frenzy.
Oh.
But you know what the sad part is, Tim?
That's the ending theme song to the show. Osmond.
No one listens to the
Oh,
Osmonds,
no.
so nobody heard
Damn
anything.
it.
It's like
Squished
if
it.
a tree falls in the forest, does it really fall at all?
Well, it fell right on your joke because I did that. I stepped right on your joke. Good one. Good one.
Yep. And his son was Hawkeye, the Avenger.
Yes, true. And in MASH.
Yep. And he got canceled because his name was Mr. White.
Well, that's great, George. We did a great job.
Yep.
Pat ourselves on
Yep.
the back.
Dr. Octopus. Yep. Let's the Vulture. Let's say some other Spider-Man villains.
I don't know anymore.
The
You've said
Gibbon.
them all.
The Gibbon.
Ooh.
The Molten Man.
I never got him.
He sucked.
Was he melting hot stuff on people, or was he just molten? I was never sure.
He was just hot metal. He wasn't even molten. I think later he becomes molten.
Yeah.
I don't know.
He
Look,
wasn't.
Steve
He wasn't well
Ditko,
thought out.
Stan Lee. Sometimes they were hitting a lot, but sometimes they came up with who was that guy? The lurker.
The lurker.
No, the looter. That guy
the
sucked.
ballooner.
He was one of the last ones they did. It's like the looter.
Oh, the looter.
It's like,
That's
really?
right.
Yeah.
He looted things.
Yeah, he did.
So the moment you've been waiting for, by the way,
Oh,
I checked the mail. There's a lot of angry letters because the other
Okay.
week I mentioned Ziggy. That I said he's premiered in 1977. I was wrong. Ziggy premiered in 1971 and it's still running. The original man died and his son took over.
also named Tom Wilson.
Is he? I didn't check.
Was there any other mail? Just that?
That was it. You want me to look again, George?
Just people complaining about the Zigophiles writing in?
Yep. That's it.
Yeah.
That's it. We've talked.
Can we make up
We've
a letter?
talked so long.
We have talked so long.
You talk so fast. Do you want me to go back and find the jokes that you passed by? I didn't get to tell. No.
Yeah.
No.
No, go
I'm
do
not
it. Say
looking-
them now and insert them in.
I am not looking for them.
I want to hear your jokes.
Next week.
All right, Tim.
Next week.
Next
I
week
think-
on Spider Month, what will be the next thing we listen to?
These
Watch.
are all on YouTube, and some of them have names and
Uh-huh.
some have numbers. But if you type in Night of the Clones, we're watching the Spider-Man episode called Night of the Clones, which is pretty
And we should make sure
What?
that people know that this is the live action 70s show
live
because
action.
Spider-Man has a long and sordid history with clones,
Yes.
which will undoubtedly come up when we talk about.
This is the 70s live action TV show. Daryl.
I'm looking forward to this one, especially because it's only one episode long, not a double episode like this week's.
Yeah, because we just talk forever, man.
That was too long. It's too much plot. We left out half of it.
Like us. everywhere that you listen to us. Write us emails at SteadyBimco with the E at gmail.com. Follow us on Instagram. There's SteadyBimco Instagram. George does art. I do art for the episodes. There's probably amazing Spider-Man art we did up right now. It's amazing. Did you see that Spider-Man that George drew?
Yeah. It was so good. His groin was so exquisitely detailed.
That was an amazing drawing of Spider-Man you did, George.
Listen to my other
You can do
podcast,
that.
Hypothetical Island, where we also talk about Spider-Man all the time. All I ever do is talk about Spider-Man.
Buy my new children's book, the Super Duper 7. It's not new, but it came out last year. Buy that.
Is Spider-Man in
No.
it?
It's totally my creation.
Huh?
I just thought we'd keep
Send me
hawking
money.
stuff.
Just send me wads
Jeez.
of money.
You fell down there.
Yeah. Buy me a car.
Find me on PayPal and just give me money. All right. We're climbing up
else?
the charts.
Yeah.
Today we're number 100 in the top 100 comedy podcasts. That's pretty cool.
Oof.
We
I thought we were number 99, right above that.
we beat out the religious podcast. That's all I care.
Yes.
No.
Take that, Jesus.
Yes, it's a podcast where Jesus comes on.
It's Jesus' tight stand-up routine.
Goodbye, everybody. Tune in next week
Bye,
for
everyone.
more Spider Month. Then October's coming, and October's going to be spooky
That's
month.
going to be Octopus Month.
I was thinking it could be Octo Month, but there's not that many. We're just stuck with like 4 octopus movies.
Yeah, there's a lot of horror movies. I like
I know,
it.
but horror movies.
Octopus horror movies.
We'll talk about it. All right.
All right.
Goodbye, everybody.
Bye, everybody.
We love our audience.
This has been a Pity Party Line production.
Party line, it's a party line.
Happy St. Patrick's Day from Carvel. I'm here with my good buddy, Cookie Opa. We want to help you celebrate.
That's right, Cookie Puss. We want everyone to know that we're made at participating Carvel stores with America's freshest ice cream.
The families who own Carvel ice cream stores would love to make a St. Patrick's Day cake for you and yours. Or any day that you want America's freshest ice cream, please visit them. Thank you.